Throughout human history, there have always been mysteries no one can explain. These are disasters buried beneath volcanic rock, legends of bewildering labyrinths, or ancient ruins filled with unanswered questions. Every time a new mystery is uncovered, it gives us one more reason to be curious and to look deeper into the past. Today, let's explore together the most unsolved mysteries that cannot be explained. The White Island mining disaster. A mystery buried beneath volcanic rock. Lying off the northern coast of New Zealand, White Island has long been known as one of the most active volcanic islands in the South Pacific. Yet few people know that this place was also the scene of one of the most mysterious disasters in the history of New Zealand's mining industry. In September 1914, while workers were diligently mining sulfur on the island, a sudden volcanic landslide occurred. A large section of the crater's rim collapsed, dragging thousands of tons of mud, rock, and lava down onto the mine below. In just a brief moment, the entire camp was buried under the debris. 11 miners disappeared without a trace. The rescue team later was unable to find any bodies, and no one knows exactly where they now rest inside the heart of that volcanic island. The pain of this disaster became even more haunting because the identities of some of the victims have never been fully confirmed. The families left behind could only speculate and wait in vain. As time passed, every physical trace of the accident from that year was gradually erased by nature. What makes this incident mysterious is that, to this day, researchers have still not been able to clearly determine the exact cause of the landslide. Initially, many believed that an explosion or volcanic activity had caused the disaster, but later evidence did not show any sign of a major eruption at that time. Hundreds of theories have been put forward, ranging from unusual geological phenomena to the idea that excessive mining had weakened the structure of the island, but in the end, all of them remain speculation. More than a century has passed, but the consequences of the White Island mining disaster are still imprinted in the community's memory. The families who lost loved ones still cannot find peace when the answer to their fate remains forever buried beneath the cold volcanic rock. That story reminds us that nature always contains forces beyond our control, and there are mysteries that even time itself cannot answer. The legendary labyrinth of the Minotaur, Greece. Since ancient times, the island of Crete in Greece has been tied to one of the most famous legends of the ancient world, the story of the Minotaur, a monstrous creature held captive in a massive labyrinth, a place where only those who were both clever and brave could ever find their way out. The image of the labyrinth, with its tangled and mysterious corridors, has become a haunting symbol in Western culture for thousands of years. But the question remains, did such a labyrinth truly exist in history? For decades, archaeologists and historians have been searching tirelessly for the real Minotaur's labyrinth. They have focused their efforts on 3 main locations, on the island of Crete and also on mainland Greece, each with underground tunnels and architectural features so complex that they seem almost unbelievable. The first stop is the Palace of Knossos, the heart of the ancient Minoan civilization. When Knossos was discovered in the early 20th century, it stunned researchers with a network of rooms and corridors that seemed endless. Many archaeologists became convinced that this was the true inspiration for the legend of the Minotaur. Indeed, anyone who sets foot here cannot help but feel lost, as if stepping into a living myth. However, not everyone agrees with this theory. Some researchers argue that the real labyrinth must be located at Gortyn, an ancient city about 20 miles south of Knossos. Here, there is a tangled network of stone tunnels known as the Labyrinth Cave. Local people believe these cold, dark passageways are the true prison of the Minotaur. Inside, the winding corridors are enough to make anyone lose their way or even become hopelessly disoriented in total darkness. But the search doesn't end there. Another theory suggests that the legendary labyrinth is not on the island of Crete at all. but somewhere on the Greek mainland. Some researchers point to other ancient tunnel systems with incredibly complex structures that have been found in several locations across the mainland, though no clear evidence has been found to directly link them to the Minotaur legend. Debate among archaeologists continues to this day. Perhaps it is this very ambiguity that gives the Minotaur legend its lasting power. Whether among the ancient stone corridors of Knossos, in the darkness of Gorton's tunnels, or somewhere else on the Greek mainland, the truth of the labyrinth remains intact in the imagination of countless generations. Anunnaki, gods or extraterrestrials? When it comes to the greatest mysteries of ancient civilization, few names spark as much controversy as the Anunnaki. In the imagination of the Sumerians, these gods were not just invisible spirits, they were powerful beings, always depicted with large wings, horned crowns, and ultimate authority. They were believed to have created humanity, watched over every step of human evolution, and controlled the destiny of the entire Mesopotamian region. From ancient clay tablets to surviving ruins, the image of the Anunnaki always carries an indescribable sense of mystery. The Sumerians believed these gods lived in the highest heavens, but often descended to earth and took part in every aspect of human life. Massive structures like the ziggurat pyramids and elaborate sacrificial rituals were all built to honor and please these mighty deities. But things become far more complicated when we look at the Anunnaki through a modern lens. Since the mid-20th century, a number of bold theorists have posed a question that challenges all traditional beliefs. What if the Anunnaki were not merely products of imagination, but in fact visitors from another world? Authors such as Zecharia Sitchin and Erich von Däniken have led this wave of speculation. They argue that the stories of the Anunnaki are actually accounts of ancient encounters with extraterrestrials. According to their theory, the Anunnaki came to Earth searching for gold, a precious resource their own planet needed to survive. To achieve this goal, they supposedly altered the genes of early humans, turning us into workers who mined gold for them. Details such as the gods descending from the sky, bringing strange tools, and building massive structures are all interpreted as traces of advanced alien technology. Some even believe that the Anunnaki came from a mysterious planet called Nibiru, or Planet X, whose orbit around the sun lasts tens of thousands of years. The idea of a hidden planet once passing close to Earth has ignited the imagination of many generations and become the centerpiece of countless conspiracy theories. However, not everyone is convinced by these ideas. Archaeologists and traditional historians argue that most of the evidence for ancient aliens is simply misunderstanding or exaggeration of Sumerian symbols. Scientists explain that the handbags the gods are shown holding in ancient artwork are symbols of life or power, not advanced technology. Massive structures like pyramids or ziggurats, they say, could have been built by human hands without any need for help from the cosmos. Whether they are powerful gods from the world's first civilization or mysterious travelers from a distant world, the Anunnaki remain a symbol of what we still cannot fully explain about our own past. They represent the boundary between history and legend, between science and imagination. The origins of ancient monsters. When night falls and stories are passed around the campfire, humanity has always been haunted by the creatures we call monsters. But few people realize that the first image of the vampire did not come from Transylvanian castles or aristocrats with fangs lurking in the shadows. Long before Dracula, and even before European mythology, the ancestors of the blood-sucking demon appeared in Sumerian civilization, one of the earliest cradles of humanity. In the minds of the Sumerians, over 5,000 years ago, the earliest vampires were not blood-drinking beings as we imagine today. They were wandering spirits called Edimu, ghosts, who found no rest because they had been denied burial or were not given proper funeral rites. According to ancient beliefs, Edimu could slip into the homes of the living, drain their life force, and spread disease throughout the community. They did not leave bite marks on their victims' necks, but silently took away the very energy of life. From here, the first image of the vampire was born, forever linked to the fear of loss and mysterious death that haunted the civilization of Mesopotamia for generations. But the history of monsters does not end in Mesopotamia. Listen to the chilling legends from the highlands of Scotland, where the misty forests conceal a type of vampire completely unlike Dracula. Here, people tell tales of the Baoban Sith, vampires who are half human, half deer. They do not hide in darkness wearing long cloaks. Instead, the Baoban Sith appear as beautiful young women in flowing green dresses. They lure travelers and hunters with enchanting dances. But anyone foolish enough to accept their invitation to dance is taking the last dance of their life. The Baoban Sith will use their razor-sharp nails to tear flesh and drain every drop of blood from their victims. Though their forms are different, both the Edemu of Sumer and the Baoban Sith of Scotland are manifestations of ancient fears about restless death and serve as warnings about forbidden things. From Mesopotamia to Northern Europe, the image of the vampire has constantly evolved, but in the end, it remains a symbol of what humanity cannot explain. The mystery of Chinese coins in England. Sometimes, history leaves behind tiny traces that open up a whole world of questions. Such is the case with two ancient coins cast from a copper alloy nearly 1,000 years ago in China. What is strange is that they were not found in China, but instead turned up in two distant places in England, one discovered in a field in Cheshire in the north of England, and the other buried deep in the soil of Hampshire in the south. This discovery astonished archaeologists. How could these coins have ended up in the fields of medieval England? Could it be that the English and Chinese once traded with each other in ancient times? Some experts believe these coins are simply lost relics from Victorian-era collections. At that time, collecting Oriental antiques was a popular hobby in Europe, and it would not be surprising if coins were misplaced and eventually buried in the ground. However, other researchers, such as Dr. Caitlin Green from Cambridge University, disagree with this explanation. She points out that both coins were found near other medieval artifacts, strongly suggesting that they may have arrived in England before Europeans began collecting items from the East. What is especially notable is that the Hampshire coin was discovered only about 20 miles from a site where medieval Chinese porcelain had also been found. The Cheshire coin was uncovered among a mixed hoard of Roman coins and other metal objects dating from the 16th to 18th centuries. This suggests that the area once saw many layers of inhabitants, each generation leaving behind its own traces. But the mystery does not end there. Historical documents reveal that as early as the 13th century, the English had their first contacts with Asia. In 1254, the Flemish explorer William of Rubruck met an Englishman named Basil living in Karakoram, the capital of the Mongol Empire. By 1264, Mongol envoys had even crossed the English Channel to visit the king, much to the surprise of the local population. And in 1313, King Edward II of England even sent a letter to the Emperor of China, asking for protection for an English bishop. Perhaps the medieval world was not as closed as many have assumed. Trade routes, long journeys by merchants, missionaries, and adventurers may have carried coins and stories across the boundaries between two civilizations that once seemed worlds apart. Today, those two small coins still rest in research collections, continuing to challenge the imagination of historians. They remind us that history is always full of surprises, and that sometimes just a single discovery is enough to change our view of the world as it once was. The Bronze Age cannibal massacre in Somerset. Perhaps nothing reflects the brutality of prehistoric times more vividly than what archaeologists have recently uncovered in Somerset, in the west of England. Deep within a pit stretching nearly 49 feet, more than 3,000 human bone fragments were found scattered, mingled with layers of cold earth and stone. For years, people assumed this was simply an ancient burial ground, but thanks to modern analysis technology, the horrifying secret beneath the surface has slowly come to light. Scientists have determined that this was not an ordinary burial site. Among the bones, they identified at least 37 individuals, including children. But what is truly shocking are the marks on the bones, which show that all of them were brutally killed. Many skulls have cracks and evidence of severe blows, proving these people were beaten to death by force. The clean, even cuts on the bodies are clear proof that they were dismembered after death. However, that is not the most frightening part. Closer analysis revealed that many of the bones also bear signs of flesh being stripped away, along with bite marks, suggesting that acts of cannibalism took place here. At first, researchers thought that the perpetrators may have been forced to resort to this out of desperate hunger, but all the evidence points to a much colder reality. According to Professor Rick Schulting of Oxford University, the pit also contained the bones of cattle and livestock, showing that the community at that time did not lack food resources. Therefore, cannibalism was not a last resort for survival, but appears to have been a deliberate act intended as punishment or humiliation. It is possible that this fate was reserved for captured enemies or traitorous members of the tribe as a way to assert power and spread fear. The marks on the bones also do not show any evidence of fighting. This has led to the theory that the victims were captured and executed in a mass killing, either during a sudden attack or as part of a cruel ritual. This discovery has forced historians to rethink the Bronze Age society of England, not as a peaceful community of hunters and farmers, but as something far more complex. The mass grave in Somerset, with thousands of human bone fragments and clear evidence of cannibalism, has become a haunting testament to the dark side of prehistoric humanity. To this day, those bones have not yet told their full story. They serve only as a silent reminder that sometimes history is not only about triumphs, but also about the cold, chilling shadows behind every vanished civilization. The mistaken discovery of the Ushikawa man in Japan. Japan in the 1950s was the site of a discovery that seemed poised to change our understanding of ancient humanity. In the Ushikawa region, more than 100 miles from Tokyo, archaeologists unearthed a number of fossilized bone fragments buried deep within the ancient earth. They believed they had been fortunate enough to find the remains of a primitive human who had lived 20,000 years ago. The so-called Ushikawa man quickly became a topic of fascination, cited in numerous studies as a crucial link in the evolutionary history of the Japanese people. Pride in this discovery lasted for 3 decades. Scientists worked tirelessly to build theories about the appearance, lifestyle, and even the mysteries surrounding the migration of the Ushikawa man. But by the late 1980s, some experts began to have doubts. Upon closer examination of the bone fragments, they noticed that the shapes did not resemble human bones, but instead bore many characteristics of animal remains. However, at that time, no fossils of large bears had ever been found at Japanese archaeological sites, so these suspicions were quickly dismissed. It was not until the early 21st century, with advances in DNA testing technology, that the truth finally came to light. A research team led by Professor Jin Shuga of the University of Tokyo reanalyzed the bone samples using modern equipment and also applied 3D scanning methods for morphological comparison. The result was a complete surprise. It turned out that the Ushikawa man was not a human at all, but actually a prehistoric brown bear. All the previous imaginings of a unique prehistoric Japanese human turned out to be nothing more than a bear. This story not only caused a stir in the scientific community, but also served as a profound lesson in caution and humility when it comes to archaeological discovery. At the time of the find, Japanese scientists lacked much experience in identifying bear bones and did not have access to advanced analytical equipment. They relied mainly on visual observation, combined with a strong desire to find the true ancestor of the Japanese people. In the end, history showed that sometimes a single mistake in identification can lead to decades of misunderstanding in both textbooks and society's perception. The discovery of the Gore Pit at Waterloo, Belgium. When people think of the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, most immediately recall the moment Napoleon Bonaparte's dream of ruling Europe came to an end. But few know that, buried beneath the brown soil of the quiet Belgian fields, there remains a great mystery that has puzzled historians for 2 centuries. Tens of thousands died in that historic battle, yet archaeologists have only ever found 2 complete skeletons. The rest of the soldiers seem to have vanished into thin air. This secret was only truly revealed when a team of archaeologists from the organization Waterloo Uncovered began re-excavating the battlefield. They discovered a massive mass grave, hauntingly named by researchers as the Gore Pit. This pit contained not just human bones, but countless dismembered limbs, the remains of horses, and even a cow. All were crowded together, mixed with mud and earth, creating a terrifying picture of the aftermath of Napoleonic warfare. The discovery of the Gore Pit has helped partially solve the mystery of the tens of thousands of missing bodies after the Battle of Waterloo. For many years, theories were put forward. Some believed the bodies had been ground into fertilizer. Others thought they were burned en masse or buried deep in places no one ever imagined. But in reality, mass graves like the Gore Pit were the final resting place for many anonymous soldiers. After the fierce fighting, dealing with the mountains of corpses became an impossible task. Medics and local villagers could do little more than gather all the remains and bury them hurriedly in the ground before returning to daily life. Today, archaeologists believe there are still more graves like the Gore Pit scattered around the Waterloo battlefield, yet to be discovered. Each new find not only brings greater clarity to history, but also reminds us of the terrible price of war. The first people in Connecticut. Some discoveries happen purely by chance, but end up completely changing the way we see the history of the land we live on. That is exactly what happened in Connecticut, where what seemed like an ordinary bridge construction project sent archaeologists back in time more than 12,000 years. In 2019, as workers were building a new bridge across the Farmington River, they accidentally uncovered strange stone fragments buried deep in ancient soil. When the archaeological team arrived to investigate, they found not just a few scattered artifacts, but a large site, once a resting place for the very first Paleo-Indians. What lay beneath the ground in Connecticut turned out to be evidence of one of the oldest ancient communities in the eastern United States. Archaeologists unearthed more than 15,000 artifacts, including worked stone tools and traces of ancient campfires. Among them were also earth pits and the remains of temporary posts, indicating that this place was once a shelter or a stopover for our ancestors as they migrated and hunted over thousands of years. The discovery in Connecticut not only revealed the early presence of humans in the region, but also opened the door to new research on the lives, customs, and survival skills of ancient Native Americans. Previously, very few Paleo-Indian artifacts had ever been found in this area, and many scientists doubted whether ancient people had truly arrived in New England so early. Now, the answer is clearer than ever. This is not just an achievement of archaeological science, but also a reminder of the value hidden beneath modern construction sites, where every layer of earth that is dug up may hold a distant fragment of human memory. Today, Connecticut is known not just for its brilliant autumn forests, but also as one of the places that shaped the first steps of ancient Americans in New England. The Invincible Warrior's Sword. If you lived 3,000 years ago and were a mighty warrior, what weapon would you be most proud to wield? For one ancient fighter in Bavaria, the answer was found deep beneath the earth, where archaeologists recently uncovered a remarkable bronze sword inside an ancient tomb in the city of Nordlingen. What makes this sword truly stand out isn't just its incredible age, but the nearly perfect condition it has kept after lying undisturbed for 3 millennia. The sword features a unique octagonal hilt, a design so rare that only the most gifted blacksmiths of the era could have created it. According to experts, only 2 regions in Europe at that time had the skill to produce swords with such intricate craftsmanship. This suggests that the owner of this weapon must have held a very high status in society, or perhaps was a legendary warrior whom no one dared to challenge. But the most astonishing detail is the sword's condition. After 3,000 years, it shows no signs of damage or any marks left by ancient battles. Its surface is still bright, almost as if it were brand new. This raises a compelling question. Who was its owner, and why was this weapon preserved so flawlessly? Researchers decided to take a closer look by organizing simulated sword fights to test the sword's true strength. They discovered that, although made of bronze rather than steel, the sword is perfectly balanced and sharp enough to inflict serious wounds in combat. In the hands of an experienced warrior, it could easily slice through the thin armor of its day. And yet, after all these studies and investigations, the true identity of the sword's original owner remains a mystery. Experts have not been able to determine whether this was a real weapon used in battle, or simply a ceremonial piece made for the elite. All that remains now is the silent sword lying next to ancient bones in a tomb beneath the German soil. The mysterious cave in Ecuador, Cave of the Tayos. When it comes to the ancient mysteries of South America, few places can rival the strange allure and fascination of the Cave of the Tayos, hidden deep in the Amazon rainforest of Ecuador. Concealed beneath dense foliage, this cave has become the center of many expeditions and countless stories, stirring the curiosity of both archaeologists and adventurers alike. The story begins in the 1960s, when a Hungarian explorer named Juan Maric claimed to have discovered something extraordinary underground. Maric believed he had found a vast underground labyrinth stretching for hundreds of miles beneath the jungle. But that was not all. Maric said he had personally seen golden artifacts, walls covered in strange inscriptions, mysterious ancient machines, and most incredible of all, an entire library made of metal books. The idea of a metal library beneath the earth sounded like something straight out of science fiction, but at the time, it caused a sensation and widespread speculation. The story became even more famous when Erich von Däniken, author of Chariots of the Gods, and the man who popularized the ancient astronaut theory, mentioned the Cave of the Tayos in his 1973 book, Gold of the Gods. Von Däniken suggested that the mysterious treasures and unusual artifacts inside the cave could be evidence of extraterrestrial civilizations from the past. Curiosity peaked in 1976 when a large international expedition, including many scientists and especially astronaut Neil Armstrong, set out to enter the cave. This journey was equipped with the most advanced technology of its time, with the hope of uncovering the secrets of an underground city, the metal library, and legendary treasures. However, just like many other searches for the unknown, no concrete evidence of a metal book library or ancient machines, as Maric had described, was ever found. All the explorers and scientists could document were deep stone corridors, strange carved passageways, and traces showing that people had used the cave at least 2,500 years ago. Some corridors in the cave are believed to have been intricately crafted, very different from ordinary natural formations, but there were no signs of any super advanced civilization or evidence of aliens inside. Today, the Cave of the Tayos remains one of the greatest mysteries of the Amazon. This cave continues to attract researchers as well as those who love adventure and exploration. And like many other ancient mysteries, the Cave of the Tayos reminds us that some secrets of the past may never be uncovered. The Roman sacred spring in France. If you ever thought that luxurious spas were a creation of the modern world, imagine instead a sacred freshwater spring nestled in the French countryside, a place where people once came to seek good fortune and spiritual cleansing thousands of years ago. Near the village of Chambord, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of a remarkable structure, a pool of water and stone walls built by the Romans to surround an ancient freshwater spring. What makes this site unique is its long and layered history, stretching from the Neolithic era all the way to Roman times. In the beginning, this spring was a sacred site for ancient communities as far back as 6,000 years ago. Prehistoric people regarded it as a gathering place where important rituals would be held. Over the centuries, the Romans arrived and transformed this spot into one of Europe's very first spas. With masterful building skills, the Romans constructed a reservoir, arranged granite blocks and graceful arches, and encased the spring in sturdy wooden frames. The Romans wanted not only to enjoy the pure waters, but also to turn the spring into a magnificent landmark, showcasing their power and technical knowledge. One of the discoveries that fascinated archaeologists the most was a special piece of pottery, a shard bearing the image of Medusa's face. In Roman mythology, Medusa was a symbol of protection. Placing her image at the spring showed that the Romans believed it was necessary to guard this sacred site from misfortune. Even more remarkable, this find revealed the blending and inheritance of different cultures. The Romans did not build this place from scratch. Instead, they adapted the ancient sacred space of those who came before, preserving its spiritual meaning while leaving their own mark. The spring at Chambord stands as a vivid testament to how history, belief, and daily life have intertwined and merged over centuries on European soil. The secret animal sacrifice rituals of the Maya in Copan, Honduras. When people think of the ancient Maya civilization, what usually comes to mind are the majestic pyramids hidden deep within the jungle, the complex calendars with mysterious symbols, and stories of enigmatic gods. Yet, behind this dazzling facade of civilization, the Maya also practiced remarkable animal sacrifice rituals that few people know about. In the ancient city of Copan in Honduras, archaeologists have unearthed a secret that lay buried for thousands of years. Within layers of ancient earth, they discovered more than 16 skeletons of large cats, such as jaguars, along with many rare birds. These bones were not scattered at random, but carefully arranged as if they were once part of solemn religious ceremonies. This discovery led researchers to believe that the Maya elite raised and used these rare animals in rituals as a display of their wealth and power before the community. What surprised scientists even more were the results of analyzing the bones and teeth of these big cats. Instead of being wild predators, many of them showed signs of having been kept in captivity. Chemical traces revealed that they had been fed a special diet before being used in sacrificial ceremonies. This evidence shows that the Maya not only hunted, but also organized an entire system for breeding and transporting rare animals from different regions to Copan. The possession and use of these fierce creatures served not only religious purposes, but also acted as a statement of status, wealth, and absolute power among the Maya ruling class. In that society, not just anyone could offer jaguars or pumas to the gods. This privilege belonged to the elite, those who wished to show that they could command even the wildest forces of nature. This discovery has opened an entirely new perspective on ancient Maya culture. The Maya were not only master builders and creators of intricate calendars, but also established a unique animal economy, deeply linked to ritual and royal power. The giant stone circle, Ring of Brodgar in Scotland. On the Orkney Islands, where the sea wind is always whispering and endless green fields stretch to the horizon, stands an ancient monument that leaves anyone seeing it for the first time in awe. This is the Ring of Brodgar, one of the most famous archaeological wonders in the United Kingdom. The stone circle has stood for over 4,000 years, witnessing countless changes across the lands of Northern Europe. The Ring of Brodgar is the third largest Neolithic monument in England, surpassed only by Stonehenge and Avebury. What makes it remarkable is not only its impressive scale, but also its nearly perfect shape. The circle was formed from huge upright stones, originally as many as 60 blocks, though only 27 now remain, still standing tall in the middle of the fields. The entire structure measures 104 meters in diameter, nearly the size of a football field, and is surrounded by a trench nearly 3 meters deep. These traces show that people in ancient times must have used incredible human effort to complete this monument using only primitive tools. Through thousands of years, the Ring of Brodgar remains a great mystery for modern archaeologists. No one knows for sure why ancient people built this enormous stone circle, and no one can state with certainty what its original purpose was. Some theories suggest it was once a major ceremonial center, a place for ritual sacrifices, community gatherings, or seasonal rites. Others believe Brodgar served as an ancient observatory, constructed to track the movement of the sun and stars across the northern sky. Beyond these scientific hypotheses, the Ring of Brodgar is also tied to countless Norse legends. It is said that this place was once called the Temple of the Sun, where young couples would come to pledge their love and seek blessings from Odin. Sacred rituals took place here under the brilliant summer sun of the north, creating a mysterious connection between humanity and the cosmos. Today, the Ring of Brodgar is not only an archaeological heritage site, but also a symbol of endurance and mystery from an ancient civilization. Every summer, visitors from around the world still come here to hear tales of things that remain unexplained. The mystery of family sacrifice rituals in the Moche civilization, Peru. Along the northern coast of Peru once thrived the ancient Moche civilization, a culture famous for its adobe pyramids, vibrant ceramics, and chilling sacrificial rituals. Yet, not every Moche ceremony took place in the public squares. A recent discovery at the Huacavio archaeological site has revealed a secret family sacrifice ritual, completely changing our understanding of this society. During the excavation of a royal tomb, archaeologists found the remains of 6 individuals, all members of the same family. They were buried alongside a noblewoman who held a special position in Moche society. What shocked researchers was that most of those buried with her had died by strangulation. These were not strangers brought in as sacrificial offerings, but the actual relatives of the deceased. Did these family members willingly give up their lives to accompany their loved one into the next world? Or was this a compulsory ritual meant to demonstrate the supreme power of the Moche elite? To seek answers, scientists conducted genetic analysis on the excavated bones. The results confirmed a close blood relationship between those buried together. Some were fathers, some were sons, and there was even a granddaughter of the noblewoman at the center of the tomb. This suggests that the family sacrifice might have been a ritual carried out for the deceased's journey to the afterlife, or perhaps a ceremony to affirm the status of their lineage. This discovery has completely transformed previous perceptions about Moche sacrificial rituals. Earlier archaeological evidence had suggested that sacrifices only took place during grand festivals in front of the entire community, with victims typically being prisoners or outsiders. However, the tomb at Huacavio has revealed a much deeper and more complex meaning. Sacrifice could happen right within the family itself. The legend of the Anunnaki, Nephilim, and giants in ancient history. Among the vast treasures of ancient mythology, there are legends that cross the boundaries of nations and religions, becoming some of humanity's greatest questions. One of the most enduring mysteries is the story of the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, and the giants who appear again and again across the ancient cultures of the West. According to the ancient records of the Sumerians in Mesopotamia, the Anunnaki were powerful beings described as those who came down from the heavens to earth. They were seen as gods who either created humanity or even built the very first civilizations on Earth. In these ancient texts, the Anunnaki are depicted as extraordinary entities, not ordinary mortals, but divine beings who brought knowledge, power, and sometimes punishment to mankind. Around the same time, the Bible recounts the story of the Nephilim, giants born from the union between the sons of God and the daughters of men. The Nephilim are a strange mark in history, symbolizing the intersection between the divine and the human, and are often mentioned as a warning about the consequences of crossing the natural order. Stories of the Nephilim became the foundation for many Jewish legends, where fallen angels were punished and imprisoned underground for breaking sacred laws. These stories are not found only in Mesopotamia or among the ancient Jews. Other cultures have similar tales. In Greece, people spoke of the Titans, a race of giants defeated and imprisoned deep underground by Zeus. In Norse mythology, giants were the sworn enemies of the gods of Asgard. Looking at these parallels, many researchers have asked, Could all these figures, gods, giants, fallen angels, in ancient cultures actually be different versions of the same legend? Is it possible that the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, the Titans, or even the Watchers of the Bible are how ancient people told the story of a time when humanity coexisted with beings from beyond our world? The true origins of these beings remain a mystery. Some believe they are merely the products of imagination and mankind's fear of the vast, uncontrollable forces of nature. Others suggest that these myths are faded memories of a lost civilization, or of a strange encounter that once happened in the distant past. Today, the legends of the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, and the giants continue to live on, not only in scientific debates, but also in the modern imagination. They remind us that no matter how carefully history is recorded, there are still countless mysterious gaps that humanity has yet to explain. Mazika Cave, Poland, and evidence of prehistoric cannibalism. When archaeologists began excavating Mazika Cave, they didn't just find ancient human bones. They uncovered a disturbing trail of evidence showing that people once practiced cannibalism right here. Around 16,000 years before the Common Era, groups of hunter-gatherers living in this region were forced to do something that today we see as utterly horrific. They ate each other. But in the harsh world after the Ice Age, with food growing ever scarcer, winter stretching longer, and population numbers rising, making the most of every source of nutrition became a matter of survival. When wild animals and edible plants were no longer enough, people turned to the last possible resource, their fellow human beings. Careful analysis of the bones found in Mazika shows that cannibalism here wasn't just a rare or isolated event. It happened repeatedly as part of the community's survival strategy at the time. The even cuts, the way bones were split to extract marrow, and the marks of skulls being broken open all point to deliberate acts, not the result of chaotic violence or animal attacks. What's even more remarkable is that Mazika is not the only place where this phenomenon has been recorded. Similar evidence has been found at sites across Europe, from Spain to France, and even in England. At each of these places, archaeologists have discovered traces of cannibalism dating to the very same period, when people were struggling the most to endure brutal living conditions. All of this evidence shows that cannibalism was once a widespread reality in prehistoric society. Today, as we look back at the past through fossilized bones and the marks left by ancient tools, it's almost impossible to imagine the kinds of brutal acts our ancestors were once forced to commit. The Great Nubian Cathedral in Sudan. Along the banks of the Nile, the ancient city of Old Dongola was once the shining center of the Nubian kingdom. Today, all that remains are crumbling walls and desert sands, but beneath this dry earth lies a magnificent secret about faith and the transformation of an entire civilization. When archaeologists excavated Old Dongola, they discovered the ruins of a grand cathedral dating back to the Middle Ages. This was not just an ordinary religious building. The cathedral served as the seat of the Nubian archbishops who played a crucial role in uniting and guiding the spiritual life of the entire kingdom. The sheer size of the cathedral is enough to amaze anyone. Massive brick walls still stand after centuries, sturdy vaulted ceilings remain intact, and vibrant frescoes depict biblical stories and the images of saints once revered by the people. From these remnants, we can imagine the prosperity of Old Dongola in its heyday. The cathedral was a gathering place for the elite of society, a symbol of power, unity, and an unshakable faith in God. Every painting, every arch still carries the mark of Nubian artistry and architecture. But around the 14th century, waves of Islam spread south from the north, bringing profound changes in religion, culture, and politics. The once mighty Nubian kingdom slowly declined. Old Dongola faded into obscurity, and the great cathedral was left to the sands of time. Even so, what remains here is a powerful reminder of a glorious era when faith and authority could build monuments that endured through all the upheavals of history. The anonymous civilization in the Himalayas. When most people think of the Himalayas, they picture snow-capped peaks, monasteries hidden among the clouds, and endless legends of gods and hermits living in isolation from the outside world. Yet, it is in this seemingly desolate mountain range that an archaeological discovery has raised profound questions about an ancient civilization that once thrived here. In a joint project between Indian and Russian scientists, archaeologists uncovered strange traces high in the remote mountains of the Himalayas. Most striking among these were hundreds of terracotta horseman figurines arranged around the ruins of two ancient ceremonial structures. These figurines are remarkable for their unique forms. Some show a single rider, while others depict 3 or even 4 people sitting together on the back of one horse. The riders wear cloaks, helmets, and are adorned with elaborate patterns not seen in any neighboring cultures. What's mysterious is that, despite finding so many figurines and ritual ruins, archaeologists have not yet determined the precise age of these artifacts. There is no writing, no records, and not even traces of the familiar tools typically found at major ancient sites. All that remains are terracotta figures and stone foundations covered in snow, as if this civilization once deliberately erased all evidence of itself from human memory. Perhaps they were a small tribe who worshipped the horse as a sacred animal, or perhaps they performed ceremonies to ask the mountain gods for protection. Yet for some reason, this culture vanished, leaving behind only silent horsemen, forever gazing toward the distant horizon. Today, scientists continue to study every layer of earth and every statue, hoping to uncover clues about the ancient people of the Himalayas. But until those secrets are revealed, the anonymous civilization of the Himalayas will remain one of the most mysterious chapters in human history. The mysterious pit beneath the Sphinx of Giza. Beneath the blazing Egyptian desert sun, the Sphinx of Giza has stood watch over the Great Pyramids for thousands of years. Its contemplative pharaoh's face and the outstretched body of a lion have become an unrivaled symbol of power and mystery from the ancient Egyptian civilization. Yet, what has truly captivated generations of scholars, explorers, and archaeology enthusiasts is not only the Sphinx's majestic appearance, but also the countless legends of secrets hidden deep beneath its massive body. For centuries, tales of hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx have fueled human curiosity. As far back as ancient Greece, there were written accounts of a hidden door or tunnel leading underground beneath the Sphinx's paws. Many scholars have believed that Egyptian pharaohs might have carved burial chambers or even a secret library filled with the wisdom of their brilliant civilization into the bedrock beneath the statue. Many famous archaeologists and explorers have tried to unlock this mystery. From the 19th century right up to the present, numerous excavations and ground-penetrating radar surveys have been conducted around the base of the Sphinx. There have even been discoveries of voids, small tunnels, or sealed passages within the rock, but to this day, there is still no definitive evidence of large secret chambers as described in the legends. For that reason, the legend of the mysterious pit beneath the Sphinx of Giza lives on, becoming an inseparable part of the stories about ancient Egypt. It remains an endless source of inspiration for filmmakers and lovers of archaeology alike, a reminder that even in our modern world, with all its advanced technology, countless mysteries still lie unanswered beneath the feet of these ancient wonders. Werewolves in Mesopotamia and the ancient civilizations. When it comes to the oldest legends of werewolves, it is impossible not to begin with Mesopotamia, where tales of humans turning into beasts appeared at the very dawn of civilization. In fact, the origins of the werewolf legend were recorded more than 4,000 years ago in the world's oldest literary work, the Epic of Gilgamesh. In this story, Gilgamesh, the legendary king of Uruk, once boldly refused the affections of the goddess Ishtar. His caution was not without reason, as all who became her lovers met unfortunate ends. According to legend, Ishtar transformed a shepherd, once her lover, into a wolf. From that moment, the man was driven out of his village, hunted by dogs and by his own people as a dangerous animal. This image not only reflects the ancient fear of the gods' power, but also planted the seed for the werewolf stories that have echoed down through the millennia. Yet, the legend of the man turned into a wolf is not just a tale for campfires. In actual history, there have been strange cases that made people believe in the reality of the werewolf curse. One of the most striking examples is King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon. According to ancient records, he suffered from a rare illness known today as lycanthropy, or the delusion of being a wolf or wild animal. Some stories say that this powerful king lived like a beast, crawling on all fours and howling at night. For ancient people, this was clear evidence of supernatural forces silently shaping human fate. Remarkably, the werewolf legend is not confined to Mesopotamia. It spread across the great civilizations of the world, from ancient Rome to Greece and into medieval Europe. In Greece, the tale of King Lycaon, who was transformed into a wolf by Zeus for deceiving the gods, is one of the oldest myths. In Rome, the historian Pliny the Elder recorded accounts of people who could turn into wolves whenever the full moon rose. By the Middle Ages, the obsession with werewolves became even more intense, often entwined with the fear of vampires. In many places, it was believed that anyone who had been a werewolf would become a vampire after death, making the line between monsters ever more blurred and haunting. From the ancient epics of Mesopotamia to the folk legends of Europe, the werewolf has always embodied both fear and curiosity about the boundary between human and beast, between reason and wild instinct. And despite thousands of years, the question of the true origin of the werewolf remains unanswered, leaving a great mystery in the eternal collection of humanity's unsolved enigmas. Parallel universes and mysterious phenomena. In a world where science seems to have uncovered most of nature's secrets, there are still discoveries that force the entire community to ask, how much do we really know about this universe? One of the greatest recent mysteries is the story of parallel universes. The story begins in the most unexpected place, the icy wilderness of Antarctica. In 2016, scientists carried out an experiment called ANITA, Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, with the goal of detecting signals from high-energy neutrinos. But what they found was something no one could have predicted. Certain extremely energetic particles appeared to be coming up from inside the Earth, traveling in the opposite direction instead of falling down from space as usual. News of the discovery spread rapidly, with headlines even claiming that NASA confirms the existence of a parallel universe. Science enthusiasts began to speculate. Is there another world running alongside ours? Are the mysteries of time, space, and the true nature of the universe still doors that no one has dared to open? However, while the public grew excited about the idea of time travel or stepping into an entirely new reality, experimental scientists remained cautiously skeptical. They emphasized that the discovery of high-energy particles in Antarctica is not sufficient to confirm the existence of parallel universes or any kind of mirror world. It is entirely possible that these strange signals are due to limitations of the instruments or are simply errors in the data collection process. Physicists at the world's leading research centers continue to review every hypothesis and relentlessly search for more reasonable explanations. Many experts argue that it is necessary to repeat the experiments with greater accuracy and expand the research before making any conclusions. After all, science always demands patience, verification, and a skeptical attitude toward any phenomenon that surpasses our current understanding. Though there is still no final answer, the story of the mysterious high-energy particles in Antarctica reminds us that the universe is still full of secrets yet to be revealed. Perhaps, out there, parallel universes are quietly existing, waiting for a greater discovery in the future. If intelligent reptiles ruled the Earth. On the journey to explore the history of evolution, sometimes a question that sounds like pure science fiction forces scientists to pause and think seriously. What would happen if the dinosaurs had never gone extinct? This was a question that paleontologist Dale Russell pondered in the early 1980s. Instead of stopping at curiosity, he developed a unique hypothesis centered on Troodon, one of the most intelligent dinosaurs of prehistoric times. Troodon was unlike the popular image of giant dinosaurs. In fact, it stood less than 2 meters tall and possessed a brain that was quite large relative to its body weight. This trait especially caught the attention of scientists because a larger brain is often a sign of increased intelligence. Dale Russell speculated that if the fateful asteroid impact 65 million years ago had not wiped out the dinosaurs, Troodon might have continued evolving over time and gradually developed superior intelligence. To illustrate this idea, he and his colleagues created a model called Troodon sapiens, a hypothetical species of intelligent reptile. The sculpture depicted a creature standing upright with a large head, big eyes, no tail, and agile fingers. According to Dale Russell, if evolution had continued, Troodon might have developed language and even built its own society, much like humans eventually did. This idea is not just an intriguing story about evolution, but has also opened up a whole array of new hypotheses in science and popular culture. Today, lizard people are everywhere in science fiction movies, comic books, and even in famous conspiracy theories. Many joke that beneath the modern veneer of human society, a mysterious race of reptiles still secretly controls the world from the shadows. Though Dale Russell's hypothesis has never been proven, it continues to raise profound questions about the path of evolution. Is intelligence and civilization the exclusive privilege of humanity or merely a random outcome of natural history? If there had been no mass extinction, perhaps this planet would have belonged to completely different beings, and the history of humankind would be nothing more than a theory in the stories told by reptilian creatures. The mystery of the Port Orford meteorite, a theoretical treasure. In the mid-19th century, America was still a land of adventure and strange tales. One of those stories is tied to the name John Evans, a doctor and geologist from New Hampshire. In the 1850s, Evans was sent by the U.S. Department of the Interior to the wilds of Oregon to survey mineral resources. It was there that he claimed to have discovered a massive meteorite near Bald Mountain, about 40 miles from the town of Port Orford. According to Evans, this extraterrestrial rock was so large that transporting it was unthinkable at the time. He estimated the cost of bringing the meteorite down the mountain at $33,000, a huge sum in the 19th century. Instead of attempting to move the whole rock, Evans decided to take a small sample and send it off for analysis. News of the discovery spread quickly, igniting a frenzy of meteorite hunting across the Pacific Northwest. However, the story took a different turn when no one could pinpoint the exact location of the meteorite Evans described. Treasure hunters and scientists alike made trip after trip up the mountain, and even Evans himself led a few expeditions, but every effort to find the stone again failed. After Evans died in 1861, the mystery of the Port Orford meteorite became even harder to unravel. Though no one ever found the original rock, the sample he sent off still existed. In the 1990s, a team of researchers decided to analyze the stone again using modern techniques. The result was astonishing. The sample did not originate from Oregon at all, but matched the composition of meteorites discovered in Chile's Atacama Desert. This finding raised many questions about John Evans's true motives. Some believe he was simply the victim of an honest mistake, while others suspect that Evans orchestrated the story to gain attention or for personal gain. There are even those who speculate that the meteorite might have been an alien spacecraft capable of moving from place to place. Whatever the truth may be, the Port Orford meteorite remains an unsolved mystery. To this day, no one has been able to point to the exact location of this cosmic treasure in the forests and mountains of Oregon. The Bosnian pyramids, truth, belief, and mysterious energy waves. Some stories seem to exist only in legend, yet they are powerful enough to stir up the world of modern archaeology. That is exactly the case with the story of the Bosnian pyramids. In 2005, Osman Agic caused a sensation by claiming that the tree-covered hills around the town of Visoko were actually giant pyramids built by humans 12,000 years ago. According to him, the structure of the hills and the underground tunnels beneath them are evidence of a forgotten civilization. But what captured global attention was not just the supposed age of these pyramids, but also the strange phenomena associated with them. Sam Osmanagich believes that from the peak of the largest pyramid, special energy waves are emitted. Measuring devices have supposedly recorded continuous ultrasound waves, while powerful negative ions spread throughout the underground tunnels. People say that anyone who visits feels refreshed, their mind uplifted, and even their health visibly improved. Many visitors come to Bosnia just to experience the healing sensation from the mysterious energy radiating from deep underground. However, not everyone is convinced by these stories. Archaeologists and international scientists quickly got involved to investigate. After numerous studies, most experts agreed that the hills at Visoko are simply natural formations, masses of earth and rock shaped into unique forms by rain, wind, and time. They argue that the evidence for ultrasound energy or electromagnetic fields is merely coincidence or the result of inaccurate measurements. Geologists also point out that there is no evidence that humans ever built pyramids here. The underground tunnels are in fact old mining shafts or natural caves. The claims about ancient stones or energy phenomena lack independent verification and have not convinced the scientific community. Although the truth about the Bosnian pyramids remains controversial, it cannot be denied that this story has ignited the imagination of millions around the world. It stands as proof of the power of unresolved mysteries, a place where the line between reality and legend is still remarkably thin. The Mysterious Sword of the Witham River, a medieval code, challenging time. England's history is always filled with mysteries buried deep beneath layers of mud or within the beds of ancient rivers. One story that continues to intrigue archaeologists is that of a strange, double-edged sword discovered at the bottom of the Witham River in northern England. This sword dates back to the 13th century, almost 800 years ago. But its most remarkable feature is not the hardened steel or the masterful craftsmanship, but the mysterious characters running the length of its blade. Historians have found that the inscription along the spine of the sword is a sequence of coded letters that no one has ever seen before. This inscription is like a message sent backward through time, a code that seemingly only people from the past would understand. For centuries, countless people have tried to decipher it, from linguists to lovers of the mysterious. However, the true meaning of the inscription remains a major question. Recognizing the unique allure of this story, the British Museum once organized a special campaign inviting the public from all over the world to help unravel the mystery of the Witham sword. The theories put forward are diverse. Some believe it is an ancient language, while others think it is simply a string of decorative symbols with no real meaning. There are even scholars who suggest that in medieval times, blacksmiths would sometimes engrave random characters just to add an air of mystique, making the sword feel even more special to its owner. Despite the efforts of thousands of curious minds, the code on the blade remains an unsolved mystery. Skyquakes, mysterious sounds in the sky. There are quiet nights when the whole city is asleep, and suddenly the sky erupts with a thunderous boom so powerful that it makes windows rattle and the ground seem to tremble beneath your feet. This is the phenomenon known as skyquake, one of nature's strangest mysteries, which has astonished generations all over the world. People describe skyquakes as sounding like cannons firing from the horizon, sometimes accompanied by shock waves strong enough to shake even large buildings. What's remarkable is that authorities have often confirmed there was no activity on the ground or in the air at the time these sounds occurred. As a result, each time the phenomenon happens, a wave of curiosity and a touch of unease spreads through the community. Over the years, scientists have put forward a series of theories to explain skyquakes. Some believe they result from unusual atmospheric changes, when cold and warm air collide violently, creating natural sonic booms in the sky. Others point to sound waves traveling from distant volcanic eruptions, or even secret tests of supersonic aircraft. Yet none of these theories can fully explain every case. There have been serious investigations by scientific teams and meteorological agencies, but the end result remains a big question mark. Skyquakes still occur unexpectedly, leaving behind no clear evidence to analyze. That is why every boom from the sky serves as a reminder that, no matter how advanced modern science becomes, nature still holds many secrets we have yet to explain. Muziris, the legend of the lost port city in India. There are cities in history that seem to exist only in legend, their every trace swept away by the passage of time. Muziris is one such legend, a port city that once flourished on the southwest coast of India, now surviving only in memory. For centuries, Muziris was described as the busiest trading center in the Kerala region, where spices and gold were exchanged with merchants from ancient Rome. The Romans called it the Gateway to the East, a place where great ships docked, bringing not only goods but also news and culture from both ends of the world. Ancient texts still record images of Indian and Western merchants crowding the harbor, scenes of bustling trade, and the constant noise of commerce and conversation. Yet after the 5th century, Muziris suddenly vanished from all historical records. No one knows for sure what happened. Some theories suggest that geological shifts or catastrophic floods buried the city beneath the silt of the Periyar River. However, many historians point out that the decline of the Roman Empire and the drop in demand for black pepper brought the flow of trade to a halt, turning Muziris into a forgotten name. It was not until the early 21st century, in a small village called Pattanam in Kerala, that unexpected archaeological discoveries revived hopes of finding Muziris. Archaeologists unearthed Roman pottery shards alongside ancient pepper seeds and gold coins from around the world. With each layer of earth uncovered, every artifact found served as confirmation that this place had once been part of a brilliant maritime Silk Road. Today, excavations at Pattanam continue, providing new clues about the rise and fall of Muziris. This port city stands as a testament to a golden era of trade, and as a reminder that the brightest chapters in history can so easily be forgotten beneath the dust of time. The world's oldest bridge, a mystery unveiled at Tello, Iraq. Archaeological discoveries in ancient Mesopotamia continue to reshape our understanding of the past. One of the most recent finds to astonish the scientific community is the remains of an ancient brick bridge in the city of Tello in southern Iraq. This bridge has been identified as the oldest bridge in the world ever built by human hands. Archaeologists discovered the remains of the bridge with the help of modern satellite technology, combined with meticulous excavation work on the ground. It is estimated that the bridge was constructed around 4,000 years ago, during the era when the first cities began to emerge on the fertile lands between two great rivers. Even after millennia buried under layers of alluvial soil, the fired brick structure and the surface of the bridge still clearly bear the marks of ancient human craftsmanship. The bridge at Tello was not just a simple structure for transportation. For the inhabitants of the city of Girsu, it played an important role in both spiritual and social life. The bridge connected the city center with a sacred precinct, where people gathered to worship the gods and hold festivals. Researchers believe that the scale and sophistication of this bridge clearly demonstrate the advanced construction skills and technical thinking of the Sumerians. Today, the ancient bridge at Tello stands as vivid evidence of human creativity and the desire for connection that existed thousands of years ago. Every brick and every surviving stone tells a story from a time when people first began to conquer nature, bind communities together, and build symbols that would endure through the ages. If you found these mysterious stories fascinating, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming discoveries. We'll see you in the next video.